All right, this will be our second lesson. We're looking at a cartoon analysis. And cartoon analysis is a big part of assignment 1. Assignment 1 is 40% of your written part of your diploma exam, and it's 40% of your writing evaluations here in 10-1 as well. So we know what the diploma looks like that you're headed towards, and so therefore we're going to begin to develop our skills here in grade 10. So we have a cartoon. Most cartoons have a purpose, and the purpose is to expose a flaw in society, some kind of problem that we are facing. Here in grade 10, each of those problems should be connected to globalization. And in grade 10, we should be able to talk about the significance of the problem as well. So let's begin with the what is the problem? What is the problem that we see on the page? Yes, sir?
That the USA uses too much oil.
All right, so when we look at the details within the source, we can see that the United States is literally drinking oil. So we have an addictive behavior. The United States is addicted to oil. That their addictive behavior is illustrated as their beverage of choice. Any other details within the source that shows that they're over-consuming? How do we know that USA over-consumes? Yes?
It's kind of taking up a lot of space and pushing everyone else into a smaller kind of area.
So, in terms of the cartoon itself, it's important to understand the relative sizing of the main character of the United States. And the United States character is much larger than any other character shown, and they're taking up the entire northern hemisphere. So they're taking up a disproportionate amount of space. Anybody know a term that we can use to describe the amount of earth that is needed to sustain our lifestyle? So it's not expected that you know the term. It comes up later in chapter 11, I believe. It's called ecological footprint. So what we're seeing here is the United States has a disproportionately large ecological footprint, that they are using too much of the planet to sustain their lifestyle. So the United States is over-consuming oil, they're addicted to oil, they have an addictive nature, and there's a cost to their addictive nature. It's not only a cost to themselves because they're drawn in such a way that it looks that they're unhealthy, but there's a cost to their neighbors as well. Because of the lifestyle the United States is living, their neighbors are being crowded out. They're being pushed to the side. Do we have a term that describes when we take value away from others? The people on the bottom, they are being, what's a good word for it? Their value is being taken away. As a consequence of the actions of the Americans, the value of the people on the bottom is being taken away. We call that marginalization. So the United States has an addictive personality. They're addicted to oil. It's the lifeblood of their lifestyle. We know it's an unhealthy lifestyle because the individual drawn to represent the United States hasn't been drawn to assemble most healthy individuals we see. That's not a typical Olympian athlete. That's not what Usain Bolt looks like. So he's drawn in an unhealthy way, and there's a cost to the people. Just blew up the internet there. There's a cost to the others, and that's because they are being pushed to the side. They're being marginalized. So the problem is too much America. And we can call that Americanization. And that term is, I don't want to get too close to the board now, but that term is up at the top. Americanization. Americanization is this idea that the rest of the world should look like America. So if we wanted to use another term that we saw today from page 58 of the textbook, Americanization is not on page 58, but there's some words that kind of are associated with that. The idea that you should be like us. What's another word for that? Yes. Assimilation. So the United States wants to assimilate the rest of the world. Based upon the way this was drawn, is that possible? Is it possible for the world to be like America? No, because there's not enough world for all of us. Due to the disproportionately high ecological footprint of the United States needed to sustain their lifestyle, the rest of the world cannot adopt the US way of life. Americanization is not possible because of the high ecological footprint.
Hi, all my former students, and where did you get the mic? I didn't think we had them yet.
Oh no, this is just one of those whisper sets.
Oh, okay.
But you might be able to get like a mic to connect to your lapel from Sean. Have you talked to Sean?
I haven't yet. Okay, I know he had them, I just didn't know if they
Yeah.
were dispersed or not.
No.
Or dispensed.
I would go shake him down.
Okay.
By the way, you're YouTube famous now because we're recording, so.
Oh!
Hey, welcome to YouTube. Thanks for signing the waiver. So the problem is too much America. The problem is Americanization. The problem is that globalization is the interconnectedness of mankind, right? When we connect, one of the consequences of it, one of the externalities, the consequences that's unintended, one of the externalities, unintended consequences, is culture contaminates. Culture contaminates. When things mix, there's contamination. And here the United States is attempting to marginalize and assimilate or Americanize the rest of the planet. And that's a consequence of globalization. How do we know this is significant? We know it's significant because the Earth doesn't have enough resources to adopt the American lifestyle. That if the rest of the planet adopts the US lifestyle,
At this time, we ask that all grade 10 students with the last name starting with the letter T to Z, please flip the bookworm to get your textbooks if you did not get them last week. Thank you.
if the rest of the world adopts the US lifestyle, then what will happen is we'll only speed up the age of extinction. We'll only speed up the biospheric pressures that is leading to the death of birth. So from an ecological standpoint, if more Americanized, then our lifestyles would be even less sustainable. Sustainable is, can we continue to live like this? And because of the disproportionate size of their ecological footprint, if the significance of this is, if those people down here do Americanize, there won't be enough planet for everyone. So Americanization is not possible. Why might some people want to be Americanized? Why might some people see Americanization as a positive thing? Yes?
Because not everyone lives, like some people live in poverty outside
Yeah.
and don't live in America.
So many people living in poverty, Americanization is not an evil, it's the dream. They want to be Americanized. They want to have their own house. They want to have the car. They want to have the leisure time. They want to have all of those luxury items that are being bombarded to them through globalization, that they see on the media. They want to have those lifestyles that are being showcased by Hollywood or by social influencers. So Americanization, the division of society here, some people may actually want to be Americanized. That they want to sacrifice their traditional cultures to become American. That's the division of society. Not everybody sees Americanization as a negative thing for them personally, but the suggestion of the cartoon is ecologically it's a negative thing for the planet. Ecologically, the planet cannot hold everyone Americanized at the same time. So what's the solution? What kind of solution can we infer that the cartoonist wants? And who's the target audience for the solution? What if I said one of the parts of the targeted audience was America? What if I said that the cartoonist wants Americans to look at this cartoon? If that's the case, and this has got to be entertaining to see me walk back and forth in front of the camera, but if that's the case, then what's the intended result? What's the intended result based upon the targeted audience of America? Yes?
The cartoonist might want to strive Americans to be better and less wasteful?
Yes. So if the targeted audience is America, then the intended response might be to try to create some kind of a shift of thinking, a paradigm shift in the American mind that is suggesting that, you know what, maybe we should consume less. Maybe we should marginalize less. Maybe instead of living for ourselves, we need to live for others. Not for the glory of me, but the glory of us. That if the intended audience is America, then that's the actions that we could suggest, infer that the cartoonist wants to inspire. What if the intended audience is these guys? And some of them are drawn in a very stereotypical way. Like this guy's got a sombrero on, so we can assume that's meant to be Mexico, maybe. So some of them are drawn in an oversimplification way so we can identify who they are. But what if we say that the intended audience is the developing world? What if we say the intended audience is what is called the South, the Southern Hemisphere? It's Latin America, it's Africa, it's Asia. How does the cartoonist want those areas of the world to respond? What does the cartoonist want them to reject? Americanization, right? So the intended response is for these individuals to see that America's lifestyle is not healthy and not worthy of adopting. That we should not become clones of America. Because if we do, we won't get the glory that we think we'll get. We won't get a better life. We'll become addicted to oil, and we may become unhealthy. So if the target audience is Latin America, if it's Africa, if it's Asia, if it's the developing world, countries that are looking to see who can we model ourselves off, the suggestion is don't pick America. America's unhealthy. Is there any evidence to continue the ideological perspective of the cartoonist? So another step in assignment 1 is to take the ideological perspective being shown here and to either update it and suggest these are things that have happened since the source that either reflect or refute the source, either support or rejects the source, or simply you can add some evidence that would support the ideological perspective. How can we support this perspective? Any other evidence? Or any evidence to illustrate that, you know, this cartoonist is being very biased against America and that's not fair. How would you argue that? What is the cartoonist ignoring? Because it is very biased. It's very anti-American. Yes? Yeah, so one way to question the bias of the source is to question, you know, are Americans, as they've been drawn here, are Americans that selfish? Are Americans over-consuming? Maybe we could draw some Americans that are more conscious of their ecological footprints. What about America the good? What about America that feeds many places in Africa? How come America's global citizenry isn't being highlighted here? It makes America look so selfish. America has a foreign policy that is, at times, a lifeblood to other countries. Countries depend upon America for humanitarian aid. That's not being shown here. So this is a very simple illustration of America the bad. And not every American does overconsume. So many Americans are very cautious about their ecological footprints. Now, America may not be the healthiest country in the world, but there are states within America that at a state level are healthier than Canada. So for Canada and Canadians to look at this and say, oh, America, you're so bad. It's like, you know what? Alberta's worse. We overconsume more than they do. So do you want to compare Alberta to Delaware? Because it's not going to turn out well for us. So there is a bias there that's anti-American that may be limiting the power of the source. So in summary, when we have cartoons, we should be able to see globalization. Here we see the consequences of connecting. That because America is connected to others, they're crowding others out. And as America connects to others, they are Americanizing. They're changing people. You go to Saudi Arabia and you see American corporations. You go to Vietnam and you see American corporations. You go to Russia and you see McDonald's, and it's like, well, why? Why are American corporations throughout the world? Because of the spread of American power, economic power, social power. That's Americanization. But unfortunately, it's not just economics, it's also cultural. And with that comes overconsumption. And that's the alarming thing being shown here, is that Americans are selfish and overconsuming. The significance could be that the earth has limited resources, and if billions of more people adopt the US lifestyle, we will run out even faster than we are scheduled to. So rather than talking about mass starvation by 2060, we might be talking about mass starvation by 2040 because of overconsumption of the finite amount of resources we have. Then we connect it to things like division of society. Does everyone agree? Would some people say it's biased? What is the solution that this person wants? We talked about the targeted audience. Well, who are they talking to? Once we can identify who they might be talking to, then we can talk about the change they're intending to create. And then we can add evidence to further it. So I'm going to bring up another one for you. We only have like 7 minutes before lunch now. I'm going to stop recording. I'm going to bring up another one for you, and we'll get you to try it out again and try out those steps again. If you can, communicate with people around you, but still be safe with your mask and stuff like that, and don't be like shouting in each other's faces with your mouth and stuff. It's okay to ask somebody around you and say, okay, I don't get the division of society step. Well, what do you see there? So we don't have to be dead silent all the time. It's helpful for sure, but it's okay to reach out for help as well.